Welcome, Gunrunner.
Hello everybody, Q&A the Laird here, and I've got a bit of a different video for you this week, and it's actually something that I got asked to do quite a while ago now actually. A few people asked me to do it, but I kept forgetting about it as other stuff cropped up that kind of was more important and stuff. Anyway, I've got there eventually, and I was actually only reminded of it when I was going through my garage to find some other things, most notably my 7800, which I could not find anywhere. The last couple of times I've looked, it was getting very frustrating, and now I've found it in a box where I totally didn't expect it to be. So I'm not sure why I put it in that particular place, but there we go, problem solved. At least I've found it now. So yes, that's a good thing. I would have been quite upset if I had lost my 7800. So what have we got here then? So we are going to be looking at some old Telegames catalogues, and as you can see in the background here, I've done a lovely display of some Telegames products, because the thing about Telegames was that they were a mail order distributor. For those who don't know, a very famous one. They were pretty much the largest distributor of console games in the UK, definitely. And they were pretty big in the US too. They had a US branch. So they were on both sides of the pond, which is quite cool that I can talk about a company that will be just as familiar to people in the US as in the UK, because they are my two biggest audiences. And they, as well as being a mail order company, they also published games, most notably for Atari formats, which is why I've got a lovely display of their Atari stuff. So obviously I've got some of their 2600 games there, like Bogey Blaster, Kung Fu Super Kicks. There is Deadly Discs behind there, Tron Deadly Discs. You probably can't see the little picture. Quest for Quintana-Roo. And there we've got some of their Lynx games, European Soccer Challenge Kicks, Desert Strike. I've got others as well, some of their really rare stuff, which I couldn't get in the photo, like Crazy Ace Miniature Golf, and of course Double Dragon. And I've got the original versions, not the newer reprints. These are all originals. And yes, so I've got a little pile here which we're going to go through, but I thought it'd be quite cool to put some of the games that they published in the backdrop. They didn't just publish Atari games though. It's worth noting that they actually published quite a lot of stuff for the ColecoVision, most notably I think, because they actually were the official distributor for the ColecoVision in the UK for a long time. Originally it was CBS Electronics, but after they stopped, after Coleco discontinued the machine and they stopped doing it, Telegames took over all the distribution. In the UK, they released a few new games under their own branding as well. The only one I can remember actually offhand is Skiing. I know they released Skiing, but I'm pretty sure there is more. And they also sold their own ColecoVision console as well, called the Telegames Personal Arcade, which is quite interesting as well. I've actually put a picture of that up in the top corner there so you can see what it looked like. They're really rare and sought after now. Actually, back in the day, they were fairly cheap, I think, for a while, but now they go for silly money on eBay. That the Telegames Personal Arcade, or its counterpart, which is called the Dina 2-in-1, which I think originated from Taiwan. It's called 2-in-1 because it could play ColecoVision games, and it could play Sega SG-1000 games, because the hardware is pretty much identical, but the cartridge is a difference. I had two cartridge slots on it, as you can see. And yeah, they sold their own version of that, basically repackaged. And Dina 2-in-1s and Telegames Personal Arcades go for a lot of money, especially the Telegames consoles. They're really hard to find these days. But it's also worth noting as well, actually, that Telegames originally got into the mail order business because they were the distributor for the Intellivision. So they had a close link going right back to Mattel, and as Deadly Discs shows there actually in there, and Bokeh Blaster for a matter of fact. They republished after M Network and Mattel pulled out of the video game business. They pretty much republished all of Mattel's M Network games with their own branding. The boxes are very similar in many cases. Like the Deadly Discs there box there, it's almost identical in style to the M Network release, apart from the Telegames USA logo there at the top. So they republished other people's games, not just Mattel though, because Kung Fu Super Kicks up there was originally Chuck Norris Super Kicks by Zonox, and they took the Chuck Norris name off, obviously, so you didn't have to pay him, and called it Kung Fu Super Kicks instead. So there you go. There's some history of Telegames and the company, and they are still going. The UK side, you can still mail order stuff from them. You can still order on the internet, as most people would do. You can still buy games for all classic consoles. They've got an absolutely huge inventory of stuff, so they're always worth looking at. People always go to eBay, but in many cases Telegames are cheaper, and you'll also find that Telegames have got a lot of rare stuff that you probably can't find anywhere else as well. So if you are into collecting console games, and you're in Europe especially, then Telegames are well worth looking at. Unfortunately, the US branch of Telegames stopped doing the mail order for classic consoles ages ago. They actually shipped all their inventory over to Telegames UK, so they're holding a lot of it. So when you actually look at their site, they have got stuff that's NTSC only and stuff like that. And the US arm of Telegames started putting all their focus into mobile games and games for Nintendo consoles, so the 3DS, DS. They said they were going to publish Wii games, and they never did, which was quite strange. So I don't know what's happening there. They don't seem to be doing a lot nowadays, so I don't know whether they've kind of shut down. They still seem to be selling some of their older games, but I've not seen any new stuff from them in a long time. So let's start then. So let's start with something that will be familiar to a lot of people, and they're the old paper lists that you used to get from them. So basically what you could do back in the day was you could send them, this is how I did it anyway, back when I had my own 2600, is you'd send them a stamped address envelope, and on the front of the envelope you'd write what lists you wanted back. So you'd write Atari 2600 or whatever across the top of the envelope, and that's what they would send you back in the post. Now this list here is actually a newer one, because I think they sent me this list and some of the others when I bought some of their Lynx games directly from them a little while back, probably Kicks and stuff like that. I bought them directly new from them. So they sent me some lists, obviously for Atari formats at the same time. I had a Jaguar one, but I don't know where that is. But this is Atari 2600 on that side, and ColecoVision and 7800 on the other side. But what I absolutely loved about this is absolutely no different to the lists they used to send you back in the 80s and 90s, because it's all, quite basically printed with the really bad photocopy, and it cuts off the logos and stuff at the top. But also you'll notice there are games that are handwritten on, like there. They've handwritten in Super Space Invaders and Sky Jaguar there. And they also would change the prices of stuff. So for example there, they changed the price for Atari 7800 console there. They've basically Tipexed it and put $199.99 instead. Or for example Choplifter there, where they've literally just penned it over the top. It looks really crap, to $24.99. There's even more of these on the 2600 side. Like they've written in clacks there. They've changed some of these to $39.99 that were $29.99. And stuff like that. And the reason why you find this is that what they would do was Telegames would constantly adjust their prices depending on what inventory they had. So if they started to get really low on some of the games, because they wouldn't get any more because it's new old stock. They only sell new old stock. I should mention that none of their stuff is second hand. It is all new old stock, so most of it will be sealed when you get it as well, which is really cool, because picking up sealed games is quite difficult, but Telegames have loads of them. So yeah, when they get low on certain games, they will whack the price right up. So for example there, I can see that they've got Human Cannonball, which is a quite crap game, and I didn't believe it was that rare at all. You can certainly get it on eBay pretty cheap, but they've got it for $39.99. So I'm guessing that they only had, when this list was done, a few of those left. So there we go. But there's some bargains to be had on there, which I can see. Like I can get Winter Games for $9.99. I can get Activision Tennis for $9.99. There we go. And get Fatal Run for $9.99. Great game there. So some really statues and really good games you can pick up for a tenner. Dig Dug and Double Dunk for a tenner. Frostbite and Ghostbusters for a tenner. There's loads of really good games on there that you could have picked up quite cheap. Not sure how much they are now. Probably a bit more. You'd have to check. But certainly there are a lot of bargains there. And you'll notice it does actually say at the top, correct time of printing, subject to change. And still the address they've always been at, Kilby Bridge, Wigston, Leicester, where they used to have a shop as well. They actually used to have a few shops dotted around that part of the country. They had like Leicester, Peterborough, Cambridge, those sort of places around that Midlands area. They had quite a few actual retail shops, but apparently I never got to go to it, and I'm gutted that I never did, because I heard so many amazing things about it. People went back in the day, but apparently their shop in Leicester at Kilby Bridge was absolutely amazing. Apparently they had loads of consoles that you could play on. You could basically see or play any of the games if you asked them, because obviously they would go to the warehouse and find them. So that must have been pretty amazing to go to a shop that had that much inventory available. It must have been pretty incredible. Yes, that's one of their standard old prices that they sent out. Real nostalgia hit for me looking at those, because I used to pore over those for hours and underline or highlight the games that I wanted and stuff like that. Here's another one. So this shows about their repair service that they offer. You can tell this is quite a new one because it's got their website address up on the top as well as the phone number. But it talks about the post and packing, but it says that they can repair Jaguars and Neo Geos and everything for you, pretty much every kind of console there that you can send it off to them to get repaired. There we go. There is a order form there at the bottom for people who are old school, where you can fill in what you want. I can remember very clearly filling those in and sending them back with a check, and they would send me a game. And on the other side, we've got some adverts for some random stuff for the Game Boy Advance. Usually offers, actually, they put on the back of these leaflets. I've got another one somewhere, actually. It's got a load of Jaguar offers on it. It might be upstairs. But anyway, you get the general idea. But what I have got is an old one, which I did find. And this was inside a Jaguar that I bought. So here we go. Here is an old one, but from the days when they were clearing stuff out at stupid prices, and they had this special deal with Game and EB when they decided they were going to get into retro stuff. I think this was about 2000, 2001-ish, I believe. And look at some of these prices. It is unbelievable. You can buy a Jaguar Pro Controller for £13.50. Yes, £13.50. The same controllers that have been going, in new condition, close to £1,000 on eBay. You could buy them for £13.50. Oh, what we do for a time machine, eh? Because these prices are just crazy. You could buy a Jaguar CD unit for £95. Buy any Game Gear game from the list and pay only £3 extra for NFL Quarterback. They must have loads of copies of that. Game Gear Master Gear converter for £4. Bargains. But especially the Jaguar stuff, I mean, wow. So there we go. That's a bit about that. Please keep this letter for future reference. So they send that out with stuff that people bought from them. And then on the other side, we have the retail price list. So on they've got Jaguar, Lynx and Game Gear. Bit funny finding Game Gear alongside Jaguar and Lynx, but there we go. But let's look at some of the prices of some of the more expensive stuff out of interest. So Alias's Predator $54.99. Goes for a bit more than that now. You get Double Dragon 5 for £20. That goes for a lot more than that now. So that's a pretty good bargain. What else we got on there? Tempest 2000 for £24.99. That's pretty reasonable there. Primal Rage CD, £50. And what does that go for now? Yeah, we're talking like £300, £400 in new condition. So yeah, that's another bargain there. There's a few worth picking out. You can pick up Dino Dudes for a tenner. That's pretty damn good, isn't it? Certainly not an expensive game now, but it's a lot more than that. And how much was a Jaguar? So Jaguar SCART with SCART lead and Alien vs Predator for £100. Yes, and that's an American model. Or you could get a PAL Jaguar console with 2 games for $34.99. Yes. I mean, what the hell? Again, about the Time Machine statement. $34.99 for a Jaguar with 2 games. That's what I actually got this in. It was a Telegames pack that I bought. I bought it off I think it was someone on Marketplace, actually. Shame I haven't still got the Jaguar because I sold it on. But in the box, it actually had 2 cartridges. It had Cybermorph and it had a cartridge for Kasumi Ninja. No boxes, just the cartridge instruction manuals. So I'm guessing that's what that refers to, is with Kasumi Ninja as well in the box, and a load of leaflets. So this was one of the leaflets that was in there, and I kept this, although I sold the Jaguar on. So there we go. That's a pretty incredible look at what some of their prices were like at that time when they were trying to clear stock out. And now they're not, and now they're charging a hell of a lot more for a lot of this stuff. And last of all, here are some catalogues that they actually sent out. Again, I think this is actually, I bought some Jaguar games from Telegames when I first started collecting for the Jag. So we're probably going back to about 2003, 2004, that kind of time, when I started collecting for the Jaguar again. And they were sending these out in the packs. And these are just catalogues. This shows the newer stuff they did. So obviously like Soccer Kid there for the PlayStation, Iron Soldier 3 for the PlayStation, Ultimate Brain Games for the PlayStation. Interesting for Jaguar owners especially, because obviously Soccer Kid came out on the Jaguar late on. It was an aftermarket release. The Iron Soldier games, the first 2 were on the Jaguar. And Ultimate Brain Games was meant to be a Jaguar game and ended up on the PlayStation. There is a prototype of the Jaguar version out there, but it was never officially released. So this shows some other stuff. So there's some of their Game Boy Advance games, like they did Yar's Revenge, most notably for the Game Boy Advance. Towers for the Game Boy Color. There's a few of their Lynx game there. So there's a Raiden. There is Breakout 2000 and Super Off-Road. Breakout 2000 for the Jaguar, should I say. So there you go. Classic top-selling Jaguar and Lynx titles. So there we go. That's more than there. This kind of leaflet bit pull out. That's got their Santa Claus Saves the Earth game. Bigging it up there. I think it's meant to be quite crap. It probably is, but that was another game they did for the Game Boy Advance and the PlayStation. On the other side of that is more adverts. So we've got Towers 2 for Jaguar and PC. Classic Gaming Volume 1. So that has like old Activision games and Imagic games and stuff like that they did for the PC. There's Soccer Kid down there as well, and Hardcore Pinball. That's up there. And then we've got here, which is I think is really cool, is Retromania. So that was the TurboGrafx, and as I have mentioned in a video before, worth going and looking at the story of that actually, if you're not aware of it, is that many people believe that the TurboGrafx/PC Engine was not released officially in the UK. It was, and it was Telegames who did it, who released it in the UK. They were the only official distributor of it. They bought a load of the stock from NEC. It was meant to be launched in Europe, and sold it through themselves. And that's those units. They're called TurboGrafx rather than TurboGrafx 16, and they are grey in colour rather than being black in colour. And this also promotes the fact that you could buy an adapter from them, which they manufactured themselves again, so you could play Japanese games, because it would play US games as standard anyway. It mentions that you can get some of those games there as well. No price notice. And then it mentions that they've also got loads of Neo Geo games. They were one of the biggest stockists for Neo Geo stuff in the UK, actually. Open it up, we've got even more adverts for some of their Game Boy Advance and actually all Game Boy Advance stuff on those pages there, including some stuff that we've actually already covered. And then on the back, there's a bit down there mentioning all the systems that they sell games for, they have available. So pretty much every retro system under the sun, as you can see. They're another promotion. You might have seen it on the other leaflets actually, for their video that they did, What Video Games, which was a classic video they did back in the day. I had it when I was a kid, funnily enough, because I bought it. And again, I watched it and watched it and watched it and watched it, because as well as having all the current systems throughout the time, it had previews of systems that are about to come out. Like it had a first preview of the Lynx on it, and it had a first preview of the Conix multi-system, which they proudly proclaim here. They have rare film with the abandoned Conix multi-system. And a link again actually up in there in the top corner, because I have uploaded the entire video to YouTube for people to watch, and it is well worth watching. It's a long video, but it's well worth watching because it's such a blast of the past. It's a real time warp, and it's a fantastic watch. I was so pleased when I discovered it and got a high quality version of it up on YouTube, because it wasn't anywhere. They do actually sell it. They have converted the VHS onto a DVD that you can buy, which you can buy from them. So they do still sell it, but not as VHS. They sell it as obviously a DVD. But I've uploaded the whole thing to YouTube anyway, so you can go and watch it if you want to. No need to buy the DVD. No one buys DVDs now, really, anyway. There's a couple more of their PC things. There's the Planet Bloopy for the PC, and the Personal Arcade again for the PC. But yes, the What Video Game, absolutely amazing watch. I quite often actually watch it at Christmas because it's very nostalgic for that reason for me. So there we go. That's a look at some Telegames catalogues. I didn't quite expect this video to go on. Actually, oh no, one more. I forgot about this one. This is just a little one that they put in their Lynx games, so I thought I'd include it as well. So it just shows what they were doing for the Lynx. I love the way there, you can see, if it focus, they've just kind of stuck a Telegames logo over the screen that you can clearly see is playing Surfing from California Games. Brilliant. Yep, that bigs up the fact that they were the very first third-party publisher for the Lynx, and actually the Jaguar as well. They were the first third-party publisher for the Jaguar. But they were one of the very few third-party publishers for the Lynx, so they were quite notable for that. So obviously their games there. So Ultimate Chess Challenge was their first game, Kicks was their second game, then European Soccer Challenge. And it shows Guardians Storm Over Doria, which was an RPG that they were working on, which looked amazing. Everyone was getting very excited about it. And then it was never released, apparently because it was costing an absolute fortune to make, and it was taking much longer to develop than they expected, so it got cancelled, which is really sad. There's some of the other games, so Double Dragon, Super Off-Road, Desert Strike, Crazy Ace. I remember clearly buying Double Dragon, Super Off-Road and Desert Strike from Game. I remember walking in there and being quite excited to see them there and buying them. And Crazy Ace, which I bought in more recent years, and we won't talk about that because it's bloody awful. And it was the version that they actually did release is not finished either. Horrible game. And then there we go, some other stuff about them, their UK address and their US address, showing the two branches, and the fact that you can buy some speakers from them, which you can plug into your Lynx, special speakers, stereo speakers. Quite cool. I always wanted to buy them, but never did for some reason. I don't know why. Yes, definitely I am finished now, sorry. The video's gone on for a bit longer than I initially expected, but I hope this has brought back some nostalgia for you, as it has for me. And I've really enjoyed looking at it, and those who used to order from Telegames back in the day, well, will remember many of the things that I've talked about, and you can relive that nostalgia by going and ordering stuff from them again now, as I actually do on a quite regular basis, because, as I say, their prices are actually very comparable to eBay and often cheaper. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you all again for another one very, very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.